So I can't give financial advice, but I'm hoping you can give me your financial advice on this case. I've actually spoken to like maybe 4 couples this month, and what's happening is the couple over here, one's earning 190k and one's on 200k, so big income. They've only got $50,000 cash, and what they're thinking about doing is they have, one of their mums, or one of them is one of the couple's mother-in-law. They have a property, and the father-in-law, mother-in-law have a property that is worth $4 million, no loan. So basically these guys are like in their 80s, right? But they're still living in this, big boomer house. But the house is pretty outdated, right? And it's only got about maybe 3 bedrooms, right? So these guys want to do extensions, add another 4th room, 5th room. They also want these guys to live with them and take care of them. And basically they have, I guess, a healthy relationship, right? But the thing is, these guys don't want to go through like a reverse mortgage to obtain the loan to do the extension, which basically will cost, I would say, 500 to 600k. And they don't have income because they're retired, right? They're on a pension. And what they're trying to do is offer to the couple over here who's basically living with them at the moment pretty like squashy, right? And these guys are expecting, a kid on the way. And what happened is they have an investment property worth $1.5 million and the loan's 500k. And I've worked out at 80%, which is if we were to do a refinance, which I'm helping them to get a better rate, but also the possibility of releasing equity of up to $700,000. Now, the idea is to release equity here and then use that to either knock down and rebuild this property so that becomes, double story or, triple story, so that they can accommodate these folks who are living over there and their new family with the extra kid and live happily ever after. Now, here's the conundrum, which I've discovered because they were like, hey, this is a really good idea. I'm like, let's think of the multiple options of what you're getting yourself into. Not financial advice, but maybe you can give some of your own advice. So the options are, immediately number one, the lowest hanging fruit is just do it. Let's not think about the consequences. Is basically, okay, in terms of their income, being able to refinance this debt, investment loan, pull out 700k. I've done it before, easy. And they'll use this 700k, control the funds with the builder and knock down and rebuild, right? But the property does not belong to this couple. They're using 700k of debt against their investment property, which would leverage their loan from 500k to $1.2 million. And they're going to spend the renovations on their mother-in-law and father-in-law's property, which is, by the way, the wife was like, maybe not a good idea. But the husband's like, yeah, do it. To basically add value to this existing $4 million property in Sydney for this 2 couples over here, these elderly boomers, and basically turn a 3-bedroom to maybe a 5 or 6 bedroom, 1 story to maybe 2 to 3 stories, right? But here's the kicker to this boomer couple is that they don't only have 1 child, which the wife is married to, right? The boomer family also has 2 other kids. And apparently boomer 2 old mates over here have a will, which basically says when they cark it, which, they're in their 80s, touch wood, they will give, and obviously through estate planning, the properties to, the son and 2 other kids, which are, 32 and, I guess 40, and they both also have families and wives. But these 2 kids are not in Australia, but they're Australian citizens, but they're expats. They're like somewhere in the world, right? And think about this. If you're the couple, you pull out $700,000 of your equity from your property to build on the mother-in-law's property, which is from the wife's perspective, and, for example, 10 years later, whilst these guys kind-hearted living with, the mother-in-law or the mother, happily after all, right? Say after 10 years, these guys cark it, this property is no longer 4 or 5 or 6 million with bloody like $15 million. You reckon these 2 overseas people will be like, yeah, that's cool, keep it? No. Do you reckon they'll come and have a bit of a piece of the pie over here? So then how do you draw the sand in the line to say, hey, back then 10 years ago, I've contributed $700k towards that property that you guys have not a bar soap of, but because the boomers left a will to, say, everyone gets a third share, how do you draw a line of sand to say what's yours and what's not? Therefore, option 1 is very questionable, and they asked me for advice, and I said, I can't really give you advice, but hearing from my toner guys, I seriously said, yeah, it's a can of worms. So with the best intentions in mind, it's best to not get involved with the boomer's house and basically let them do what the hell they want to do with it, and just use the $700K and the extra serviceability to get a brand new land and build yourself. Or the third option is, obviously not financial advice, is offer to buy the $4 million house off these guys, and then they hold 100% ownership of this property, and they do what the hell they want with it and get these folks to move in, maybe the granny flat. But then it opens another can of family politics where these two overseas siblings will be like, hey, well, I thought we were in the will. I thought you guys gonna stay in this property for another 10 years, cark it, and we'll get a piece of the pie. Now, as you watch this video thus far, I'm throwing this question back to you. What would you give in terms of advice to this couple? Option 1, do it, deal with the consequences later. Option 2 is don't do it, get a new loan, get a new vacant land, build yourself, mind your own business, let the folks deal with their own bloody issues and live in that creaky old house. Or option 3 is buy the boomer's house because you can afford it. Maybe they can discount the price as a gift to $2 million so you can afford it and avoid, stamp duty. But then, gotta be quiet with that. What would you do? Now, obviously, if you're a first-generation migrant, I don't want your bloody advice, because how would you know how it feels like to have a boomer dinosaur parent that owned property since the prehistoric ages where they bought it for $1 and now it's worth $10 million? How would you know how it feels? So I'm raising this question for the many generations of Aussies that's lived in Australia with very fabulous boomer parents with a lot of equity in their property. What would you do? And don't mind the pinch of saltiness in my tone. Down in the comments, let me know what you would do.